If you're in Seattle, and you need to buy or sell a home, we'll be right there for you. Because we're the realtors that you can trust. So go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
You're listening to The Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? And welcome back to the Ron and Don Show. And we are back in the Ron and Don Real Estate Studio.
What is up, Ron and Don Nation?
Hey, coming up on the Ron and Don Show, we got to talk about the top 5 at 5 and what we think really happened with Nancy Guthrie. Also, Seahawks Parade, who won it? I'll play a couple clips. I think I know who I think won it. I hope he's on the team next year. And before we get to that, though, let's get to this. The State of the Union was last night, so that was a couple days ago. If you're listening to us, let's say on our Monday show. Ron, your thoughts on the State of the Union?
It's very interesting. Full disclosure, I did not watch the longest State of the Union speech in American history.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting to rewind. The State of the Union was built into the Constitution because back in the day, there was no internet, there was no TV, there was no radio, and politics was very local. And so Congress said, hey, why don't we get together once a year? President can sort of give us an overview of the whole country, and that's good information to have. And actually, when George Washington did it, it was like charts and graphs. It was like, hey, here's what the economy looks like, because you didn't have access to that information.
When George Washington did it, it was 1,000. It was basically under 9 minutes. And it was more, the State of the Union was supposed to be a report, right?
Yeah, it was basically a report on the Union.
It's Article 2 of the Constitution.
It has evolved over time, clearly, to what we have today.
Well, let's talk about the way that it evolved, because I think that's really important. Because initially it was supposed to just be a report card about what's going on in the State of the Union, and Washington didn't want to politicize it. Then what began to happen is politicians are going to be politicians. They're like, hey, why don't we take this thing and make it come alive and bring people together, and we'll start chatting. To your point, it wasn't on the internet. There was no TV. Maybe when the Wells Fargo Stagecoach came through town at some point later on, you're able to read about the State of the Union. What's really interesting when you think about this becoming a reality television show, which is what it really has become, you go back to Jefferson, and Jefferson said, I don't like people standing up and speaking. This is becoming political, and it's separating us, and I don't like it. And so for 100 years, the State of the Union went back to being a report card, and that's what it was. And then you look at Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson looked at the way that someone like John F. Kennedy, remember how John F. Kennedy became really the first TV star? We think of John F. Kennedy. Lyndon B. Johnson saw that right after Kennedy's death, and he said, I'm going to use the State of the Union, because think about this. Lyndon B. Johnson, where is he from? He's from Texas. What did he have to deal with? Like, he didn't think he was going to have to become the guy basically creating the parade for the civil rights, a guy from Texas. But because John F. Kennedy, that's what John F. Kennedy started, Lyndon B. Johnson felt like he needed to finish it. And in doing so, he knew he wouldn't be electable after that. Then it's Reagan. Reagan, who was what? He's a movie star, a TV star, a vaudeville actor, a guy from California. He was basically a modern day Gavin Newsom, right? Really slick coming in there, governor of California. And what he did is he said, you know what? This is a TV show. And he's the one that started planning people in the gallery, right? He's the one that started having speech writers write in. This is when we're going to stand. This is when we're going to sit. He was a Republican. This is when we're going to challenge the Democrats. This is when we're going to bring up that World War II vet. You didn't see a lot of these politicians handing out medals of honor. There were 2 that were handed out last night. I think maybe 6 medals were handed out in all. And then you have the hockey team come in. What we saw last night was what Reagan had created on steroids, and it's become very, very partisan as a result of that.
Yeah, so I had no appetite to watch it, in part because as of right now, any information coming out of the White House is utterly untrustworthy. And so I don't care what your political stripe is, you cannot trust the information for accuracy. And so I'm a person that likes accuracy. And so when you get up there, anyone, it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican, like, hey, State of the Union is strong, State of the economy is strong, when in reality, everyday Americans are struggling to pay their rent, put food on the table. You know, the price of everything has gone up. Tariffs are really kicking in now. When you go to, Walmart, or you go to QFC and you're trying to buy food, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, but when the reality of the situation is, I have a politician here telling me to ignore my day-to-day experience. Like, I know what it costs to put gas in my car usually. I know what it costs for a bag of groceries usually. And everything is more expensive. So it's saying, hey, why don't you just ignore your average experience and believe me when I'm telling you that the economy is great? No, it's not great. There's an interesting stat.
And Biden did that as well, right?
Biden did that as well.
That's why Biden lost the election.
Democrats and Republicans.
He was in denial about what was happening with the economy.
I don't know if they're in denial as much as they're just...
Are you talking about Biden or Trump, or are you talking about
Joe
both?
Biden and Donald Trump, they don't go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
They don't put gas in their car.
That's right.
They're not, comparing the price of beef. They show up to a catered meal every day. So, all Republicans at that tier are disconnected from reality. They're not paying their utility bill. And so that, I think, is a fatal flaw. There's an interesting stat that came out, and I heard Professor Galloway talk about this, Prof. G, if you listen to his podcast.
Scott Galloway?
Yeah. When the French Revolution started, there's an index that says about the concentration of wealth. And the higher the number, the more the wealth is concentrated to the top. And so when the French people revolted...
Wait, say that again.
So the higher the number, 0 to 100. If it was 100, there would be one person controlled all of the wealth of a country. 0 means that everybody has the exact same amount of money.
All right.
And so... the higher the number, the more wealth is concentrated to the top. So when the French Revolution happened and the government, pitchforks and beheading of Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake, the index in France at that time was 82, meaning that we were in the 82nd percentile. The top portion of France controlled 82% of the wealth, and the rest of France controlled the scraps. The United States just passed to 83.
Wow.
And so the concentration of wealth in America, and just look no further than our own Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Bill Gates and people here in our very own neighborhoods.
Or on the front of the Seattle Times today, you and I were just in a coffee shop grabbing a burrito and drinking some coffee and catching up. It said the average net worth in Seattle right now is $1 million in Seattle.
The concentration of wealth is past 83, and Americans don't seem to be reaching for the pitchfork. They seem to be going, oh, okay. And so my point with the State of the Union is I had no appetite to sit through straight ahead propaganda, straight ahead mistelling of facts. I don't like to politicize United States hockey. I don't like to politicize the valor of American soldiers, regardless of party. And this goes back to, and you and I had to cover many State of the Union. Hold on. Many State of the Unions when we were on Cairo. This is not an anti-Donald Trump thing, even though I'm very anti-Donald Trump. Every time going back 20 years when a program director would come in and say, Ron and Don, you got to do 4 hours of State of the Union, then you can back me up on this. I consistently said, regardless of who was in power, that's not good radio. It's not reality. Your average working class American doesn't care, doesn't relate to it. It is not important. This is political theater. I've said that for 20 years plus, and I echo it last night. It is meaningless to the guy or gal that's a school teacher or a construction worker, or like my mom was a blood technician at a hospital, absolutely meaningless to their lives, whether or not they tune into that last night, because you sit down at your kitchen table with your checkbook and you go, wow, I guess we're not going out this month, or wow, do I choose between food or the gas bill? And I think of these people on the East Coast right now digging out of a huge snowstorm.
41 inches.
There's a lot of people that if you can't get your car unburied out of the snow, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, oh, what a fun snow day. I'm trapped in my house for a week. So there's a lot of Americans where it's like, if I don't get out of this house and trudge through the snow, I don't get a paycheck this week. And if I don't get a paycheck, we don't have any heat.
Yeah. Did you see the Philly chairs?
I did
back,
see the Philly
back
chairs.
east?
No, the Pittsburgh chairs.
Well, they're in Philly as well. Basically what happens is, and they show this young lady, she had to go to work because they had to pay the bill. She had to make money. She couldn't have a snow day. So her husband went out there with her, and they helped dig the car out. And the problem is when you dig the car out and you're parking on the street, somebody else will come then and take that parking space, and they didn't take the 2.5 hours to dig the car out. And so you see all over Philadelphia and places like Pittsburgh. In fact, I drove a friend to the airport, a coach friend of mine that was heading back to the East Coast, and he explained it to me as well. And you put lawn chairs out there where you dug out the car, and nobody's supposed to park there. And I said, how does that work? He said it works 100% of the time.
Otherwise, you get a note on your car that you're a jag-off, which is a very Philly thing to do.
Yeah.
So what did you think about the State of the Union? Because I have no appetite to listen to propaganda for 2 hours, particularly with this White House just churns my stomach.
I did not like the name calling, the horrible things that were said last night. I didn't like there was a gentleman that was 100 years old. And why did it take 100 years to give him the Medal of Honor? And I think all those people are used as puppets. I think the hockey team was. I think the gentleman that got the Medal of Honor last night, both of them, they seemed very uncomfortable. There was a girl there last night who had transitioned to a boy and now back to a girl. And she's going to Liberty. She's sponsored by Liberty University, which is Jerry Falwell stuff. She's standing up and everyone is clapping because she converted back to a girl. I mean, just some really dicey stuff that divides us all. And then you go and you look at the numbers, and I think you just nailed it, Ron. 38% of the people in the country right now, 38%, Republicans and Democrats, 38% when they're polled around the country feel like he's not doing a good job overall, right? 38%.
No, 38% say he is doing a good job.
Or 38% say he's doing a good job.
68% or whatever say, 67% say no.
When you look at the State of the Union last night, though, they say most of the people that watch the State of the Union, when it's a Democrat up there, it's all Democrats that watch. When it's a Republican up there, it's a lot of Republicans that watch. And so when they looked at the numbers last night, and they polled people that actually watched the State of the Union, Trump got almost a 70% approval rating because it's people that will sit down and they're already convinced.
And I don't. You can't say America's great, State of the Union is strong, and pat yourself on the back, and then spend 45 minutes fear casting about everything that's wrong with America in the same speech. That just doesn't make any logical sense.
It's a lot of Law and Order, which I love. I love Law and Order. I'm all about that.
Don't.
But where was Law and Order on January 6th, right? He uses the military. What you see happening in Iran right now and sending over all those aircraft carriers, sending over all those planes, it's because the Epstein file, all the stuff that's still in there that has not been revealed, I can guarantee you his name is in there many more times. And I can guarantee you the stuff that is being redacted is about him and the people around
There's
him.
an NPR story out right now, an investigation of, and I hesitate to even go into the details, of the pages that are missing from the files. That includes allegations against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So go out and find it yourself. It's a well-reported story. But what's the number one way to detract or distract from that is invade Iraq.
The Miami Herald that broke the Epstein story and has been following this story forever. And then you go back to 2018 when Jeffrey Epstein was arrested again. And before that, I think it was in 2008. And then he ends up dying in 2019. There's a story out today about the people around him that were trying to revitalize his career. I always wondered why Steve Bannon from the War Room, who doesn't talk about the Epstein files anymore, on his War Room, who a lot of what you see happening right now in the country, President Trump isn't smart enough to come up with all this stuff. A lot of it comes from Bannon. A lot of it comes from Laura Loomer. And a lot of it comes from
Miller.
And it comes from Stephen Miller as well, along with his wife. And so he's up there hanging on to that lectern last night, trying to just, I don't know where the suit came from. He looked like he was a stroke patient, like he was going to fall down any moment.
I think he is.
And then he kept
patient.
whispering into the microphone. I felt a little bit like he was a DJ at a strip club back in 2005 when I was in New Orleans and we used to go to, he was just kind of whispering on the mic when he was talking. Or I felt like I was at Starbucks and maybe I was going to order a latte and maybe some egg bites. It was very, very bizarre. But the Steve Bannon story, Steve Bannon shows up in the Epstein files. Why is there all this video? Do you know why there's video of Steve Bannon and Epstein? And it's today in the Miami Herald. They explain it. Steve Bannon was brought in, and he brought himself in to say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to relaunch your career. We're going to do a tell-all. I'm going to sit down with you and interview you. But he didn't want his voice, and he didn't want to be seen. And then what they were going to do also is they were going to bring in some of the girls. Epstein felt like he could get some of the girls to come in and to sit down and to say good things about him. So that's what they were trying to create. You know who else was a part of that? Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff, who writes about Trump every single day and goes after him every single day. The interesting thing is Michael Wolff was one of the advisors. He's a journalist. It came out today that he was one of the advisors as well, along with the counsel from President Obama. And there was a whole staff where they had gotten together. You see all these emails, and they were basically going to try to revitalize his career and relaunch
I've got
him.
one thing to say. Dow, 50,000.
More in a minute? Oh,
Wait, Don, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
This is just for you. We've heard all this stuff about the Epstein files, right? Why have we not heard anything about the Barbarino files, the Horseshack files, or the Freddie Boom Boom Washington files?
Love that, man. Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Carter. Welcome back. More in a minute.
If you find yourself dreaming about a new home, go from just a dream to the Dream Team. Schedule your time at ronandonsitdown.com.
I love this city. Hey, and I got a few things for y'all. First, we did not care. Second, we still don't care. One more. Third, the Super Bowl Hawks live here.
AJ Barner, I think he won the parade. A lot of people say he's our Kelsey. Man, I think he's better than I love it. If you get an opportunity, listen to the Kelsey brothers have AJ Barner on. Have you heard their interview on their podcast?
I haven't heard all the interview, but I saw it.
It's really sweet. It's really great. And what I appreciate about both those guys, because even though those brothers have both won Super Bowls, if it was me and I had all the success of the Kelsey brothers, I would sit there and just talk about myself and my success all the time because that's just the way I'm wired. They don't do that at all.
If you have a chance, go see Travis Kelsey trained to be a bobsledder.
I saw that. I haven't seen it. Was it
so
good?
It's so funny. It is great. Hold on, I got to stop the show real quick.
All right, what's going on?
Stop the show.
You had made a comment a while back.
Yeah.
About the fact that I've gotten into watches. I have not gifted you a watch. I have a very special Super Bowl presentation
Come
for
on.
you. And so I need you to open this.
Come on.
And then I'm going to show you something. I searched high and low. The Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl, of course.
Yeah.
And do it right now.
Before
this out.
I open it, if people want to watch it, you can see this on YouTube.
You can see this on YouTube or on Spotify video.
Yeah.
So
Are you sure this is for me?
This is for you. Open it up.
Where did you get the bag?
The bag I bought at Home Goods.
No,
I
this
think.
looks like a bag that your life partner gave you. It doesn't say to or from me on it.
I know. Just open it up.
Okay, I'm gonna
open this up.
It's blank.
And so Don's going to drag this out.
All right. Oh.
You're worse than the way my mom opens a present. Just like open the present.
You know, because a lot of times, like at Christmas, I get one present. It's usually a present I bought for myself because everyone's, I didn't buy anything because, you know, you can afford anything you want. I'm like, yeah, that's the spirit. All right, let's see.
So open the box first.
All right, opening the box. Oh my gosh, that is so awesome.
And so tell everybody what it is.
Wow. Should I show the camera? Yeah. Should I show the camera? Check that out. Is that good right there? Back up a little bit. There you go. Yeah.
And look what I got. I got us both one.
That's awesome. Oh, yeah.
So here's what I did.
Yeah.
Is
That's awesome. Thank you.
You bet.
It's a Super Bowl watch.
It's a Seattle Seahawks. It's the only authorized Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl watch I could find. You have to pay a really big licensing fee to get the NFL logos.
Ron, anytime he buys me something, and I do the same thing to him, then I have to go in and explain how hard it was to get it, and how much money I paid for it. No, go ahead, because I would do the same. I'm
just saying that there's not a bunch of options. Here's what I did though: is I figured out it's a stretchy band, which I actually like.
Okay, great.
And so
that's cool. All right.
Right? So it's got the Super Bowl logo on it. It's got the Seahawks logo on the bottom. I had put some money into one of these prediction markets.
It doesn't have the right time, though.
It's not set yet.
It's not ticking.
I will set it for you.
Why would you give me a watch that doesn't work?
I haven't engaged the battery yet.
You're like a watch person, and you would give someone a watch that doesn't work?
It will work. Give me a second.
You know what? You were thinking about taking it back.
No. Both of us have the same watch now.
Does your work?
It's our buddy watch.
Yeah, but yours is telling it. It's a buddy watch.
It's a buddy watch.
Well, hey, buddy.
I'll set the time for you in a second.
It's 11:34 on my one watch, and then the one next to it says
because
I
didn't want the battery to go down.
Wow.
So I put some money in the prediction markets, and I put a bunch of wagers on the Seattle Seahawks to win. I had yardage and touchdowns and Jackson Smith and Jigba and the NFC and all this stuff.
Awesome.
And so I won every one of those bets.
Did you really?
Except for Jackson Smith and Jigba getting an anytime touchdown in the Super Bowl. And so I cashed that money out and I bought us both buddy watches.
Thanks, man.
So that's the Seattle. Now you have a Seattle Seahawks buddy watch. When this segment's over, I will set your watch for you.
Okay.
But the battery's not engaged yet.
Yeah. Man, I love it.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool. What do you do on a stretchy watch when you have hair on your arms? You got to
It's not going to
shave
pinch.
your hair, don't you?
If you really hate the band, and I thought about this, we'll figure out a way to get
I think I like it.
I like it as well.
Yeah.
If you don't like the band, we can figure out another band. But I think it's a cool band.
No, I think it's. Thanks, man.
You're welcome. You're not going to wear it all the time. So that, to my knowledge, there was one other watch that was a $10,000 Breitling that I think Paul Allen might have made a small batch of.
Yeah. Why didn't you buy me that one?
Because they're not available.
Okay, but you would have.
I would have.
Yeah, with all your bet.
I didn't win $9,000 in the prediction market, but that's the only other Seahawks watch I could find.
Yeah.
There's a really cheesy, like $40 piece of crap watch from back in the day. But so as far as a Super Bowl watch goes, I think this is the only one.
I went to the pro shop because I have a friend here who's a coach, and he was teaching in a clinic. He's a Philadelphia Eagle fan. In fact, he was named by the Philadelphia Eagles the Coach of the Year in 2024. He's won 6 state championships, high school football. He was here speaking, so I got to hang out with Coach Delano. And so what I did is I went to the pro shop, and I was looking for a shirt that either said, "I love this city," or "We didn't care, we still don't care." You can find vendors that are selling those out on the street, but somebody must have bought that because it's not anywhere, and none of those slogans are anywhere in the pro shop. And you have to think when Mike said, when Coach Mike said, "We did not care." Have you seen a shirt of that slogan anywhere?
Someone could have applied for the copyright, like three-peat is a copywritten phrase. Here's the thing, though, and why I brought that up when we were goofing off, but it's a real thing. To get an NFL licensed item, because I tried to do this when Don and I worked for the Raiders, and I wanted to do a line of NFL licensed guitars. And so I had a mock-up made up of I took a guitar and I had an Oakland Raider helmet decal put on there, and it was finished in Acura
Commitment
black.
to excellence. The quarterback must go down. He must go down
It
hard.
was a good-looking guitar, right?
It was great.
And so then we had become friends with the fullback, John Ritchie,
All
who
the
also
players
played
signed it
guitars.
at a golf tournament we went to.
Yeah, so I went to John Ritchie, and I also went to Tim Brown because he had a licensing permission, and it is so expensive to get an officially licensed NFL piece of gear that you have to be a big company. Like these watches we got are from Timex. So if you're not at a huge conglomerate level, like individual guys like me and you, if like, hey, we want to make an NFL licensed Seahawk We Did Not Care shirt, it's really, really expensive to get that license and stamp of approval.
Yeah.
So the unlicensed market picks up where that.
Let's talk about the parade. I went to the parade in 2014. They played the 2013 season. Of course, they won the Super Bowl in 2014. I was working for Cairo at the time, and I just had a microphone. I had my son for a little bit up on my shoulders, and then I got him out of there because it's so damn cold. The parade then, Ron, started at the Space Needle, and then it went down to Lumen Field. And by the time they tried to get into Lumen Field, get people into Lumen Field, give out the trophy, do all that stuff, everybody was just ripped, right?
Everyone freezing. That guy was back in the studio that day,
and it was like 9 degrees. They said at that parade there's probably 350,000 people, right? My son wanted to go to this parade with his friends, so I loaded them up. I took them down to the parade. They say that there was 1 million people down there. I know you went. Did it feel? I dropped them off down. Did it feel like 1 million people to you?
It's hard because I was on 4th and Lenora, so closer to the Space Needle than to the stadium, and it was packed on both sides of the street as far as I could see both ways. And just shout out to the person or persons that gave me the flu bug while I was down there. So I've been knocked out since that day.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute nightmare of a flu, but it's hard for me to judge numbers when they're, you're 10 deep for 2 miles. I don't know what that looks like. If you're in a stadium and it's like, okay, the stadium seats 67,000 and the floor, like I can kind of judge crowds there, but it could have been, it was hundreds of thousands of people.
What did it feel like? Because to me, when I was down there for the short time I was down there, I was taken aback by how young the city looks and how much more black and brown the city looks.
My favorite thing
than it did in the first parade. The first parade was lots of white folks down there, and it was also it was an older crowd. So this crowd, they say about 60% of the city of Seattle now is millennial or younger, and it really looked like that at the parade. And I do appreciate, I think the people that, because we were talking about who won the parade, and people, and by the way, they reversed it, which I thought was the right thing to do. They started at Lumen Field, then they did the parade up to the Space Needle, and then they were able to get the players out of there. They say during the parade, no one was shot, no one was stabbed, no one was arrested. You think about Kansas City, right? The shooting that happened there, Philadelphia, all the people that were arrested, with 1 million people in downtown Seattle. And I love the fact that there was players that got off the bus and they went out, and Rashid Shaheed, I don't know if you saw him, but he was out there genuinely just loving on people. And you think about his career. A few months ago, he's there in New Orleans. This team is under a complete collapse. He knows our offensive coordinator, who now has left and gone to another team. So Kubiak reaches out to him. They bring him in. He scores 3 touchdowns for us, right, as a returner. And to see him out on the streets, just loving on folks, high-fiving people, seeing so many of the players do that, it was very fun to watch. And I thought they did it in a safe manner, where after the parade, they're able just to get them back on those buses and back over the east side in the VMAC.
My absolute
it was well done by the Seahawks.
Favorite thing was the dozens of number 3 jerseys with duct tape over the name Wilson that now said Eamon Uri, who should have been the Rookie of the Year defensively because he's a beast.
Yeah.
And then also I saw a lot of 14 jerseys with duct tape over it that said Darnold.
Yeah.
So that was my total favorite thing of the entire parade, is watching the folks go around with those
It'll be
jerseys.
interesting because at the end of the day, if Russell Wilson wasn't worth what Russell Wilson was worth, then this team would have not won the Super Bowl because they wouldn't have the draft picks to have done it. A lot of those players, specifically 5 of them on the defensive side of the ball, you can trace back to the trade. And John Schneider and Jody Allen, you think about the behind-the-scenes stuff that John Schneider had to do to basically get Pete Carroll out of there and get Russell Wilson out of there and bring in those extra 5 players to bring in Mike McDonald. When the whole league is hiring offensive coordinators, he went and hired a defensive coordinator, and then he went and hired an offensive coordinator that has worked, let's say, with the San Francisco 49ers. You look at the Rams, they're running very similar offenses because they're part of that tree, and now we are as well. Well done by John Schneider. He did say before he spoke he was a little nervous because he said he was absolutely ripped out of his mind.
It was fun.
Yeah. So real quick, already JSN coming out and saying, hey, everything I've done in the community, I deserve to be the highest paid player. Everything I've done on the field, I deserve it. Beating my chest. This is kind of how it started with the Legion of Boom, and then it became the Legion of, oh, we're doomed, because now all these guys are fighting for this pool of money. What were your thoughts on that?
JSN is the offensive engine, so he needs to get paid. Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet, the two-headed running back monster, like both of them might be gone next year. Running back has sort of turned into a replaceable item in the minds of a lot of NFL teams. Those two together, I thought, were fantastic, and we'll see if either of them is on the team next year. You have to pay JSN. You absolutely have to. I mean, he was on pace to have the best year ever by a receiver, and it sort of sputtered out a little bit at the tail end. I don't think you can blame him for that. I think we played 3 of the top teams in the league twice in a row, and so their defenses were very good, and they clamped down on JSN a lot. So I think you absolutely have to pay him. That it's interesting with the philosophy of the Seattle Seahawks is that they go out and are not afraid to cut high ticket players.
They do not care.
They do not care, and so yeah, I think you pay JSN, don't you?
No, I think his career's over. I would get rid of him. Let me find one more speech here for you real quick. You know what's really interesting? I wonder if kids, like all the kids at my son's school, none of them wear leather jackets. And I thought it was really interesting to see all the Seahawks that were all wearing those really cool white sleeve leather jackets like that, right? So I'm showing pictures, which is always really good radio.
That's some magic tricks coming up in the third segment.
All right, hang on. I got them right here. One sec. You know what? I can't find them, so we're just going to do this again because I can't listen to it enough.
I love this city. Hey, and I got a few things for y'all. First, we did not care. Second, we still don't care. One more. Third, the Super Bowl Hawks live here.
All right, you guys, congratulations, the Seattle Seahawks.
Go Seahawks. We love you, Seattle.
There you go. All right, more in a minute. We'll see you on the other side of this.
Ron and Don, from radio to real estate. When you're ready to grab a cup of coffee and sit down with the guys, go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Ron and Don Show. We got 5 things we want to talk about. We call it tonight's Top 5 at 5.
Ron and Don's Top 5 at 5. 5,
3, 2,
1.
All right, story number 1 in Ron and Don's Top 5 at 5. We'll be talking about this on Friday's show. That's our real estate only show because that's how we pay the bills around here. Don't forget, if you're buying, selling, investing, let's sit down. We do something virtually called a Ron and Don sit down. Even if you're a year or 2 years out, right? I closed a deal today that will actually close. In fact, we just got an offer on a deal that actually closed in April of 2027, right? Because it involves a builder, some feasibility studies. There's a lot going on with building here in Seattle. So don't think, I'm gonna sell my house this summer, so I'll give you guys a call in April. It's not how it works. So ronanddonsitdown.com, send us a note, and we'd love to sit down with you today. You can also reach out to us. I'm Don O'Neill on Facebook and Instagram, and he's Ron Upshaw. Story one. And Ron, there's always the headlines. You're great at digging into the headlines. And again, we'll talk about this in depth this Friday. What's going on here in Western Washington with homes now being sold below value? Is real estate crashing? What's going on here?
Well, you use the term value and price are not the same thing. And so that's always an interesting concept to think about. Like, you could pay $1 million for something and that could be a bargain, and you could pay $1 for something and that could be a ripoff. And Warren Buffett used to talk about this all the time, where he's like, you, as an investor, you really need to understand the difference between value and cost. And so the amount something costs does not indicate its value. And so what you're talking about here in Western Washington is we're seeing a decline in houses selling at list price and above. And really, when you dig deeper into that, what does it mean? Well, we had a huge ramp up in the price of homes writ large in Western Washington for about a 3 to 4 year period. From COVID, when interest rates were artificially suppressed under 3% by the U.S. government, they tamped them down to stimulate the economy, and it did. And so you had this virtually free money out there. People started buying real estate, and when you increase demand, what happens? The price goes up. And so we saw this skyrocketing price, and now that is leveled off because interest rates went up, and despite what the president says about the Fed has done a good job of raising interest rates to cool down the economy a little bit. And so people, though, are trying to hold on to those gains. So I thought a little bit about it in the terms of like when you work out. So if you're working out every day and you're doing your bench press every day and you start to make gains, all right? So you go and you're lifting more weight and you can lift more weight and more weight, and then you take a month off and you don't do any bench press at all. What happens mentally? You're like, I can bench X. And then you go and you try to lift that weight and you lost those gains. You can no longer hit that max rep anymore because you've lost your gains. So in the real estate market, that happens really slowly. So people are used to, and they pay attention to their neighborhood a lot, and they are thinking, oh, Don sold his house in 2021 for $1 million.
I disagree, because if I stopped working out for a month, I would have gains. I'd go from a 32, 33 pant probably up to a 36, 37.
Yeah,
there would be gains, Ron.
Different type of gains.
Yeah.
And so people are going, oh, Don sold his house for $1 million in 2021. I want $1 million. Right. And so they're trying to hold on to those gains, and they're not there anymore. And so their house, they might list it for $1 million because that's what you got 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and they're actually going to have to close $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 back of that number. And so that's what we're beginning to see. And when we get to our real estate only show on Friday, we're going to talk about the concept of a balanced market versus a buyer's market and a seller's market and dig deeper into those numbers. But it is something that we're seeing. It's important to pay attention to that when you are a buyer or a seller or an investor, because whatever market you're in is the market you're in. Yeah. And if you want to participate in that market, you just need to understand where you're at.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to understand too is what homes are selling for here in the great Pacific Northwest are still astronomically and historically high. And realtors back in 2022 were asking a lot less money knowing what a home is worth. If they thought the home was worth 1.5, they put it on at 1.2. Now, if they feel like a home is worth 1.5, they might put it on at 1.6. I'll explain why when it comes to a strategy on Friday's show. And there's also something I've written on my Facebook page. Just go to Don O'Neill. You'll find me there.
Ron and Don's Top 5 at 5.
Number 2.
Okay. Story number 2. We're going to talk about things that people have posted on the internet. Again, this is another BuzzFeed survey where they ask a question about rules in your life that you've been following, and then you get older and you're like, these are unnecessary. Why am I following these rules? So I'm going to ask you a question about your partner and you. If it's too dicey, I'm sorry, life partner, a life partner and you. They say this is one of the things. And I know Bob and Alice might be listening. If my mother is listening, I've never slept with a girl in my life. So when I would go visit my mother, I would have to send whoever I'd bring there, even if I was dating someone for years, I'd have to send them to the local motel, which was the Motel 6. So Albuquerque, New Mexico, that's a pretty nice hotel.
Don
right?
leaves the light on
Yeah.
for you.
So anyway, Marcia says, I figured out not only do married people or people that have been dating for quite some time, I have figured out they do not have to sleep in the same bed. And if they do, they get to have separate blankets. What say you?
I think that's smart. It depends on the type of person you are. So like, for many years with my parents, like my mom had to go to work early.
Yeah.
Like she worked at a hospital and she was on that shift where I think she got up at 5 or maybe before 5 to get in for that early morning shift. And so if my dad was like, hey, I don't want to get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So if there's a life circumstance like that, that it helps you, then I think you do it. The blanket thing is smart, where if you are living with one person that sleeps hot and one person that sleeps cold, the next bed that I get is going to be the one that has the dual comfort zones, where you can set your temperature and set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Because nothing worse than you being the furnace or the other person being the furnace and trying to share the same blanket. That's the worst.
Yeah, I think this is what I think. And Matt, you can chime in here because you've been married for how long?
Well, married for 25, together for 30.
But sleeping around with her for how long?
35.
35 years.
years.
All right.
No, living in the same house for 35 years.
Gosh, I hope your parents aren't listening. You're sleeping around while you weren't married. This is horrible. You didn't grow up in the Catholic house I did.
But also, I grew up watching the Dick Van Dyke Show.
You did? Okay. So you know. Mary Tyler Moore.
Two beds.
Yeah. Rob Petrie. So this is what I think. I think you get in there and kind of do what you're going to do, right? Maybe you're watching a television show. Maybe you're ha-ha. If you've been doing this 35 years, then you're watching a television show. Like Matt just said, you're watching the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Speak for yourself.
I think you meet in the middle. I like to have a little cuddle, and then I want to separate. You retreat to your side of the bed. I'm going to retreat to my side. I wish there was a bigger bed than a king-size bed, right?
California King.
I wish there was a bigger bed than I have a California King, and I wish there was a bigger bed than a California King. So in fact, I think at this point I prefer bunk beds. So I think you separate, right? You separate, and then in the morning, if you want, then boom, you can kind of come back together and do cuddle time. What are your thoughts? Cuddle time with Ron and Don.
The spirit of this article, which I really like.
That's our new podcast. It's time for some cuddle time.
I think that's a mistake.
You think cuddle's a mistake?
No, I think just calling it Cuddle Time with Ron and Don.
It's not good.
They have the same watch.
I think
they're bro watches. We got
buddy watch.
They're buddy watch. We got a buddy watch.
I think the spirit of this article, which I do like, is to question just assumptions that you've had, and if something doesn't work for you, change it.
Yeah.
Like that. If you need 2 bedrooms, if someone's a snorer or sleeps hot or whatever, have 2 bedrooms. If you need 2 blankets, have 2 blankets. If you need to just whatever it is that you're questioning, I like this article because it makes people look at like, what thing do I just do on autopilot because my parents told me to do that or whatever that I don't need to do on autopilot anymore.
Yeah. And I think my grandparents had a 2-bedroom, I think it was like a 900 square foot house, upstairs, downstairs. And then my mom and my aunt, they lived in one room, my grandparents in the other. As soon as the girls were out, my grandmother went right over and it's the first time I kind of saw that in my family. And she made my mom's and sister or her sister's bedroom, she made that her own. And
was your grandpa a snorer?
The couple times I stayed over there, I figured out, not only was a snorer, but every once in a while, he gave me a bloody nose one night, pretty rough sleeper. And then also he would kind of talk and yell and have some night terrors. And when you're like 5 years old, you don't totally know what's going on. And you wonder why your grandfather in his boxer shorts, and for some reason he slept in his black socks. I don't know why. And then you would look over, there's a canning jar on the side of the bed, and you could see his false teeth floating in the can, which really freaked me out. And then he would pop those babies in, put his glasses on in the morning. But every once in a while, he would come over, he would slap you in the face, and then he would just kind of lay on top of you, not in a sexual way, not in a weird way, but in a, this guy is a sleeping tornado. So my grandmother would go in, she would sit down with him, and then as soon as he fell asleep, she would retreat to his
Can I
room.
say something? Don't take this in an offensive way. It's meant with love. There's only 3 of your family members that I think I like.
Yeah.
Your grandma,
Yeah.
your grandpa,
Yeah.
and your sister.
That's it. Yeah.
Like everybody else,
Right.
like they're fine.
The dead
But-
sister or the alive sister?
Wow.
Well, you're best friends with my
Wow.
dead sister.
I'm just saying. Like you're both sisters. I guess I'll include both sisters.
You should include both.
Yeah.
Because
You know what I'm saying,
well,
though.
my dead sister's listening in heaven, and
Right.
she calling me pretty upset.
But
in
like
fact,
if-
the fact that we're having this conversation, she would enjoy that.
But if
and
you-
she would enjoy that, I'm referring to her as the dead sister.
If you mentally go down the roster of your family, you can see what I mean.
Yeah. All right, couple more here. When you get a cake, you don't have to share it with anyone. You can eat the whole cake.
Yeah.
No one knows this better than I do. I don't really like cake unless it's a carrot cake, right? So my
about-
son and I might try to cook a carrot cake for our birthdays
You're more
this
of
year.
a pie guy.
I'm a pie guy, and I love my friend Scotty because Scotty knows to drop off a pie, usually from High Five Pie, on my front porch.
I forget. What's your stance on pecan pie?
That's a holiday pie. I can't eat a pecan pie. I only eat pecan pie between November and December.
But you're pro pecan pie.
Yeah, but it has to and with whipped cream and all. But it has to be during.
What about apple pie?
During the holidays. I don't like apple pie. I like apple crisp because it has more sugar
Okay.
on top and something called apple Betty that my mom
You're
used
more
to make.
Pennsylvania
but
Dutch.
you know I'm a cherry pie guy.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm
'cause-
cherry pie.
So if you had to
And I
rank
can
them,
eat cherry pie. And if you brought a whole cherry pie in here and you gave me like a quart of chocolate milk, when you and I were boys, and I used to drive around in my Jeep, and you and I used to get up every morning, and remember we would throw 600 newspapers together. You would drive and throw newspapers at homes and wake everybody up, and
that's a good aim, man.
you broke a couple windows.
It's okay.
A couple lawn ornaments, especially during the holidays. And then finally we got a van, so I would sit on a bucket in the back of the van. We also use this van to clean carpets, you remember? So you drive the van, I'd throw the papers, and then we would switch, but we'd always go to 7-Eleven, and what would I get? I would get taco-flavored Doritos. I would get a Dolly Madison cherry pie, and I would get a quart of chocolate milk, and I'd eat that shiznit every morning, and I still had like 2% body fat.
You were working out a lot.
Yeah. Story number 3. Let's get to it.
Ron and Don's Top 5 Bet 5.
Number 3.
All right, Nancy Guthrie, what happened?
This Nancy Guthrie story is, I follow it a little bit, but there's a lot of info on it.
People are upset that
It appears like she was abducted.
People are upset that Savannah Guthrie didn't. She's now offering $1 million. They're like, well, why didn't you? It's your mom. You're worth $20 million or $30 million or $50 million. I think Savannah Guthrie gets paid like $30 million a year. They're like, why didn't you offer more money?
I think that abduction experts out of the gate advise you to not do
If
that.
you
right
read
away.
Chris Voss's book, he's an FBI negotiator. He wrote a book called Never Split the Difference. It's a great business book, but it's also every single day of his life. He said there's abductions that happen of Americans all over the world that you never hear about. And he would get on the phone with the people that had abducted an American somewhere in Central America or wherever that is. And he said, not only do you never split the difference with somebody like that, but he never paid a dollar or a dime. And families can do whatever they want. I guarantee you when they said, hey, we're going to give $10,000 and then it became $100,000, I guarantee the Guthrie family probably wanted to say, hey, we'll give $10 million tomorrow. They were being coached by the FBI not to do that. And I think the $1 million at this point, the Guthrie family can see that this is falling out of the headlines, that this is becoming a cold case. I think that's the Guthrie family and Savannah, her daughter, who they say may never come back to the Today Show. And I am brokenhearted for her. Brokenhearted. And now
logically, though, if this was a kidnapping for ransom situation, that would have happened by now.
I think
And
no
so I think
one
this-
talked about this. I think he sexually assaulted her. I think he stalked her. I think he's someone in the neighborhood. They released a picture now that he had come a couple nights before in the same outfit without the backpack. And then he came with the backpack. What was in the backpack? He came the first time. The second time he came with the backpack, and then he took her.
That's my point. Like,
she was bleeding, and there's blood. I think he sexually assaulted her. I think he killed her. I think he buried her. And I don't know if we'll ever figure out or find out who it is.
It does not appear to be a financially motivated situation, or else that would have happened already.
Ron and Don's top 5 at 5.
Number 4.
All right, when you arrive at a hotel, you and I read this story. What's the first thing that you're supposed to do? And what's the first thing that you do when you arrive at a hotel? I will tell you this. I think it was Geraldo Rivera back in the day, 2020. And this is when they first started bringing out the purple light. And they went into these hotel rooms, and you started seeing all the stains on the throw cover that's never washed. And I have to say, I own a number of Airbnbs. It would be impossible to clean the top cover every time that we have a new client come in. It's impossible to do that. After seeing the way that people treat some of my properties and some of the things that we have to do, and most people are complete pigs. Most of the people, they are. They will treat your property like it's a hotel or a motel in an Airbnb. They never treat it like it's their own. And so they're on vacation. And what do you do when you're on vacation? My friend Joe told me this. He said, you better get some beds that aren't from just like Bed Bath and Beyond. And I said, why is that? He goes, well, and we go in and we reinforce our beds. In fact, you're getting ready, I think, to open up a rental. We go in now and we reinforce all these beds because he said when people travel, they like to eat, they like to have fun, and they like to ha-ha-ha-ha.
That is true.
And they will break we've had beds broken in half. And I have to say, the first thing that I do when I walk into a hotel, motel, is I get rid of that bedspread. What do you do?
Well, first, for hotels, for me, number one is if I am within earshot of an elevator, I immediately turn around and go back to the lobby. Because there's nothing worse than being next to the freaking elevator. Because people 24/7, especially if you're in like Vegas or any sort of vacation destination, because people are going to come in at 4 a.m. and they think that nobody can hear them through the locked doors because they just had a great time.
And they're getting ready to go hoo-hoo-ha.
Right. Yeah. And so if I'm anywhere near the elevator, I immediately change rooms.
Smart.
The next thing is I do this article suggests just go through and make sure everything works. And so if you're into the mini bar, make sure the mini bar is stocked, make sure the hot water turns on, make sure all the features that you like are there. And then, but yeah, for me as well, I just sort of...
do you look for cameras?
I don't look for cameras.
Who's
going to spy on me?
All my Airbnbs, I look for cameras. Yeah, who is going to spy on you?
Ron and Don's top 5 at 5.
Number 5.
All right, finally, transportation department is saying, hey, if you're going to fly, dress to impress or dress with respect. Do you dress to impress?
This story cracks me up. So there's the transportation. If you've been to the airport, you know what we're talking about. And this is a uniquely American thing where basically a large percentage of American travelers dress either in pajamas or leisure wear, athleisure wear to travel now. And it is annoying. And so the transportation secretary was like, hey, can we harken back to another era when people would, look presentable on a plane and men would wear a jacket and a tie a lot of times when we would dress up. And I see the logic of that. However, back in that time, you had a seat with leg room. You got a meal at mealtime. You were
Salisbury steak, Ron.
You were not treated like cattle as you were crammed into a discount airline.
And you could smoke it at
you could smoke it.
You had a little ashtray in the.
It was less likely that you'd have to sleep in the airport.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can't have it both ways. I don't know if you noticed it when you went to Ireland or you went to Iceland or any of the lands that you've gone to. Travelers, if they're coming from Europe to the United States, they still do dress up.
They do.
90% of the people that are traveling from Italy or from France, they do look more. And
if I'm flying over 3 hours, I'm riding up front. And when I ride up front, everybody up. Typically, when you're riding up front, business class or first class, and I work my ass off to ride up front, so I'm going to ride up front. And it's just with my back. I mean, I'm 220, 225 pounds. I'm not built to ride in those the shiznit seats in the back.
You do not see a bunch of people getting on with their Lululemon pants on, though, coming out of Charles de Gaulle.
You don't. It's weird. Like, there's 2,000 kids that go to my son's school. When you go there, and I think it happened during COVID where everybody just started wearing their pajamas. All the kids wear the pajamas. If you go and you're going to buy, like, we have some Lincoln shirts on right now. That's where you go to school.
Lincoln Wrestling just did a good job.
Yeah. So everything that you can buy in that store, they all come with pajama pants. We're working right now about buying for the football team. In fact, you're helping us with this with some shirts and some bottoms. I've been asking my son about this, and they all want the pajama pants. So it's either pajama pants now or the pants, and I don't know what they're called, but they're bell bottoms on steroids. Have you seen those things? And there were probably 10 kids in the gym yesterday from my son's school. What's weird, they wear the sweats to school. You think they would wear the sweats to the gym. And this is the old man in me, right? They go to the gym. I was going to pull some kids in, and my son's been out of town. I have to ask him. They go to the gym where you put your sweats on, they take their sweats off, and they put on those huge pants that everybody's wearing now, and they're working out in these huge pants and sandals.
Hold on, time out.
I don't get it.
This is coming from a guy who owned 2 pairs of Hammer pants back in the day. There's no room to talk.
We got to get a pair of those pants. We would look so freaking ridiculous. But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. And Matt never wears pants.
Matt's a shorts guy all year round.
Yeah.
I used to, when I was like 20-something, I would put on a tie to get on a plane.
You would?
Yeah, absolutely.
And now why don't you do it anymore?
It's not a thing.
Not
it's just not that doesn't fit. It's
not a thing.
It's not even cool.
All right. When have any of the three of us ever been cool?
Good point.
Good point.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Ron and Don Show. We sure do appreciate it. If you want to reach us, there's some cool ways to do it. And we'd love for you to go to ronandonsitdown.com, or you can write us personally. Tell everybody about the sit-down, Ron.
Yeah, you can do a Ron and Don sit-down with us for free to do a consultation at ronandonsitdown.com. And many of you have a family member that may be in need for our assistance to help you navigate through this transition point in your life. Or if you're trying to get into a house, we are there for you. So let's go to ronandonsitdown.com. We have a buyer's playbook, a seller's playbook, and we can get you that absolutely free of charge.
Hey, Ron, tell everyone what we'll be talking about on Friday's Real Estate Only show.
What is a balanced market, and how do you tell?
That's it?
Well, and we're also going to talk about whether houses are selling above or below list price.
Come on, I'm holding the sign up for the YouTube people. You don't have a better tease than that?
That's my tease.
Okay. Anyway. Hey, you guys, again, thanks for listening. Thanks to Matt for producing today's show. We also want to thank my son, who is the station voice, the 7-year-old version of him, which I love. I want to thank Charlie the dog, the mascot of the Ron and Don Show. Don't forget, if you need us, reach out. I'm on Facebook at Don O'Neill. Also, Don O'Neill 34. What's the 34 for, you ask? The great Walter Payton, right? Walter Payton. I was 32 at some point when I was younger.
Jim Brown?
No, the juice.
Oh, my God.
That did, when I was in Pee Wee League, I used to be 32 because I wanted to be O.J. Simpson.
You got juiced.
Yeah, I got juiced. That didn't age well. And he's Ron Upshaw. What are you on?
I'm just Ron Upshaw.
Ron Upshaw. He's
Underscore Upshaw.
Yeah. So let's sit down together to think about buying, selling, investing in real estate. And I tell you what, since interest rates now are below 6, real estate is going gangbusters right now. So if you think about buying, selling, the market's taking off again. It's a good time to jump into the market, right? Doing a lot of deals right now, January, February, March, and into the spring. All right? Till next time, you keep your head up and your shoulders back. And don't forget that you've been listening to the Ron and Don Show only on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Well, that's it. Show's over. We'll see you next time on the Ron and Don Radio Network.